games more than others, and it doesn't happen super often, but I'd say that this is a particular game where having better knowledge of a lot of this stuff would have maybe made me appreciate some aspects a little bit more and have a little bit less trouble here and there as well. Right. Let me get this up. Alright, Pontificator's not perfect, but it should be okay. Alright, so let's start going over this a little bit. Spoiler free. Yeah, you guys were great. No one spoiled anything. Alright, music rating. So, a lot of the music in this game was not my cup of tea. The tracks were fine by themselves, but hearing them over and over and over again, some of them, I started getting to the point where I had to go inside areas or into my menu quickly to just not listen to those particular ones. And someone mentioned it before, I think it was Doc. For the most part, I don't mind music playing over text when I'm reading a lot of text, even if it has lyrics. But there were some songs in this game that were a little bit overbearing for me when it came to reading a lot of text at once. Most of them were fine, but there was a few that had just kind of gotten away from me, and I could have done without them. But unfortunately, you can't switch the song in the middle of it. But that being said, this definitely has one of the most diverse OSTs I've ever heard, and it's very, very unique. It's very unlike Square Enix type music, and I think because of that, I like that. It had a little bit of everything, you know, some type of rap stuff, punk, hip-hop, like pop type stuff. It had like just a little bit of everything, and that's interesting. I do wish that there was maybe more tracks when you're going through the town, and apparently there was like CDs and stuff like that you could buy, so I'm very curious to see what those sounded like and stuff. The battle music was really fluid and went with what was going on in the fights and stuff like that, and it made them more entertaining. In fact, those are probably my favorite aspect of the battles, was probably the music. So I'm having a hard time giving it something like a 9 and stuff like that, because some of the songs did get to me after a while. And again, some of them I was mildly okay with. But still, that being said, it still had a really, really, really solid OST. At the very least, I would recommend people give it a listen, and I'm sure they'd find something that they liked from it, or at least that it was some type of interesting experience. Definitely something unique. I'm surprised we haven't seen much else like this from Square in the music department. So I'm going to go ahead and give that an 8. Graphics rating for the era. Again, this is the thing that I struggle with the most. It's really hard when you don't have a lot of stuff to compare it to. This game came out on the DS. So I'm going to base it, and I always try to kind of base it purely off what I thought about it. Yo, I love those flash animations. So it went with an aesthetic. It was kind of like a comic book aesthetic, and I love when games take an artistic approach like that, and they stick with it the whole way. So it definitely had that approach to it when a bunch of dialogue and stuff like that was going on. Even the character movements were very like stiff and things like that, like it was going between different panels to a comic. So that was unique. I feel like going around the world and like moving around the actual world and stuff like that was probably the least interesting part to me. Like the character sprites and stuff like that, they looked fine, but I liked the more artistic approach from the comics. Having to scan areas to get into fights and stuff like that, and seeing these little like deformed blob type symbol things floating around and then fighting them and stuff like that. Again, that didn't do anything for me either. They were pretty unique symbols and stuff like that, but I mean, it wasn't bad. The sprites looked fine, but I still like the comic book approach more than anything else. So I'm glad that it focused on that a lot when it was portraying any type of story. It wasn't really like you just got two characters standing there talking to each other, and it's just their characters. I liked actually seeing things progress and stuff like that, even though this game was super dialogue heavy. The battle environments and stuff like that were mildly interesting at the start, but then they kind of became very similar for a majority of the game, actually, up until the later fights when they were somewhat more unique in the boss fights and stuff like that. So I didn't get a whole lot out of that either. But I will say that I have to give it credit where credit's due. I like games that do something unique and do something outside the box. I'm going to go ahead and give the graphics a 7. I was very close to giving it an 8, but like I said, a lot didn't so much change. Your attack animations and stuff like that, all that type of stuff it's okay. It's nothing bad. It's nothing exciting or anything like that either. A lot of stuff kind of looks the same with slightly different particle effects and stuff like that. But the whole comic book aesthetic definitely sold it for me in that unique standpoint. Alright, so the story. So if we really think about it, the story in this game is probably about 5 hours long. There's not a whole lot to it. You're going through these basic missions of kill these noise, collect these items, talk to this person, play this random game where you're making people think that they're having things decided for them and stuff like that. The story is very, very, very short. The basic plot, and for those of you that plan on playing the game and don't want to spoil it for you, is we're dead, we're in a game, we have to partner with people to be able to survive, basically. We have to complete missions each day to be able to progress the next day. At the end of the week, we get to be saved or revived. At the end of the first week, we realized only one player actually gets to revive, which was Shiki. Oh, also, you got something taken away from you when you enter. So the characters that are in there, they died, and this is basically their one chance at coming back. And we learn a little bit more and more as we progress. The second week, we partnered with Joshua, which we found out later on was the composer, which it kind of started to seem like it was really leaning towards that. But I still like how they portrayed it, even if it seemed a little bit obvious to some extent. I like the aspect that it focused on friendship a lot. It focused on a character that was kind of just like, for lack of a better term, a little bit like emo, I guess. I'm only doing that because that's like in a descriptor that a lot of people understand. The world was like crap and everything else, and there was only one thing that he cared about, himself, and so on and so forth. And I think that's a very teenage thing to feel. I think maybe a lot of us went through that type of phase to some extent, maybe some more than others. So seeing him progress through that, even though it was like in a unique scenario where he basically was trying to survive and stuff like that, I like to see his growth. I like to see the other characters' growth. They all had unique dynamics to them and unique stories and stuff like that as well. And I do feel kind of like this game might have benefited off of not having too much of a battle system, or I don't know, doing something slightly different. It was definitely going for the gimmick on the 3DS and the DS, and I'll talk about that a little bit more with mechanics. But the story is where this game's at. The pins and changing your clothes and going around a town and everything else, like, I feel like that's all very heavily secondary to the actual plot of the game. And you have to do so much of that to get the actual plot. And if the missions kind of gave you some form of progression and like story elements to them and things like that, it wouldn't be as bad. But some of them are just really silly and just like a filler for a day type of thing. And the last week was unorthodox because you never knew when the day was going to end. So I would go thinking, oh, I'm going to just go over here and then I'll go buy some stuff later. And then I got shipped into the next day and I was in a completely different area and I couldn't get to those stores right away. So then I just didn't. And little things like that. It's very weird to express, but I feel like the story is definitely worth giving a shot. It's unique, it's different. There's lots of character growth, characters bouncing off each other. I laughed a few times at it and things like that too. And there's really unique character dynamics as well. But I can see a lot of people putting this game down purely because of the combat system and purely because the progression is a very weird mission-based type progression. So yeah, I mean, I like the story overall. It wasn't the most amazing thing in the world, but I definitely felt for the characters, and the characters grew on me as I played, and that's something that's always important to me. I'm gonna go ahead and give the story a 7 as well. And my main issue again with the story is just kind of how you progress the game. I was not a fan of that. Everything just being farming, grinding, and things like that to basically progress, or wearing weird clothing in a certain area so that you can go through a wall to go somewhere and stuff like that. But I can't really say what the game could have done differently other than scrapping all that type of stuff and just basically being a visual novel at that point. And then it obviously wouldn't have been the same experience. So the mechanics. I probably had a little bit more trouble than a lot of people are going to have. I do think that trying to stream this made it a little bit more difficult than it would have just putting the DS down on something and playing. Having the cables around and stuff like that, having to have the extra cable plugged in so the audio is good for you guys. There was just a lot of stuff all over the place. Add to that holding the controller and using the stylus at the same time. It's kind of impossible to keep your hand completely still when you're trying to tap a screen and like go all over the place and slide the stylus across the screen while also pressing button inputs and stuff like that at the same time. So like it's kind of shaking back and forth constantly, and you're trying to like force your arm to stay still and so on and so forth. So it was definitely a struggle, and there was just a bit too much going on in this game for me. The game throws a whole bunch of tutorials at you really early about your pins and how they work and how they affect the people around you, the clothes you wear, how shops work, how all the pins are completely different, or different types of attacks and stuff like that, and they level up, and some can evolve and some don't, and enemies drop particular items if you change it from easy or hard or lower your level, and there was just like more and more and more and more and more tacked onto the game that only really was forced on you on occasion to do something, like progress through a wall, and then you could immediately turn it back up. I didn't want to play on easy at all, but there were the few times I switched to it just because you had a better chance of getting an item so I could progress the game. Other than that, I kept it on the normal difficulty. But I feel like this game really is really grind-centric. I think it's a super grindy game. I think a lot of people would enjoy that aspect. Getting all the outfits, getting all the quest items and things like that, collecting all the pins, doing all the missions. Most of the times it was the Red Reapers that were holding a particular wall, and that would allow you to progress, but there was also ones that were wearing black clothing that allowed you to progress, and I didn't really get anything from them. I'm sure it was things like stickers and quest items and things like that you would get. But I only did one or two of those, I think, not very many. So yeah, and the form of story with progression kind of goes with mechanics as well. I just didn't really like the progression. I didn't like being forced to go certain directions one way or the other. To me, that's not how I experience games. I kind of like to be able to do what I want to do, but at the same time, in a game that wants you to experience a whole bunch of different things and experiment with stuff and buy things from every shop and form relationships with the shopkeepers and all this other type of stuff, when you're forcing people to not be able to go to certain areas unless they do unique things and stuff like that, it makes it a little bit difficult to experience those things. More than anything though, I think the mechanic that was not too interesting to me and it was kind of difficult to deal with was just the two things happening on two screens at once. If you guys saw what I was doing basically, and probably leveling and better equipment, higher bravery, all that other type of stuff definitely would have helped me. I understand that. I'm not ignoring that. But dodging stuff on both screens without kind of not paying attention to Neku and just kind of like running him around, because the way enemies attack on his screen, it's very like parallel, I guess, is a good way to do it, and they're like, it's either very horizontal or vertical. Like there's not a whole lot of diagonal attacks, and if there are attacks that are spreading across the screen and stuff like that, most of them are relatively slow. So you could get away with Neku just kind of like going up and down or left and right and kind of paying attention to the sound that the enemy made, and you kind of know how to dodge. So I wasn't paying too much attention to his screen. Plus, he just did less damage for me than most of the other characters that I had. So then I was focusing on the top of the screen. When I started, I let the character on the top kind of do their own thing, and most of the time they get themselves killed, which of course screws you over, and the fight's going to be over from there. They don't get the stars very effectively, which I wasn't getting them super effectively either, but it's AI, so that means that it was programmed to fail more often than not. To actually dodge skills and stuff like that was very awkward, because if you tried to do any type of attack, most of your characters did some type of like little teleport or a little movement and stuff like that that they got stuck into, and then you were going to get hit. And I think the biggest problem I had in this game, especially with when you were on the top screen, is there was way too many attacks that could chain hit you. And they were very fast, and if they hit you with one, they were going to hit you with a lot, and they all did so much damage. So you almost have to control the character on the top. I don't really see any way around it unless you're over leveled and they can just kind of tank a whole bunch of stuff. You have to do a lot more babysitting of the top screen. And I know the game was trying to enforce the puck passing thing, the whole green orb thing that's going on, and dealing more damage and building up combos and all that other type of stuff. But I gotta be honest with you, there's just so much going on that it's hard to even practice that or implement it, and then you get into a completely new fight of like one other enemy you've never seen before and you don't know what they do, and it's probably going to be impossible until you fight that again to be able to like really carry that chain. So this game definitely is not for everybody. It'd be very hard to recommend to a lot of people. It might be a little bit easier to recommend the story and maybe Switch version if it's a little bit watered down with having to watch two screens. I think people will appreciate it a little bit more. But I don't fault it for its uniqueness. It just wasn't uniqueness that I was very attached to. And I'm trying not to let the fact that it like was bothering my wrist and stuff like that form an opinion for me. I think that a lot of people were kind of in agreement with me that there's just a lot going on at all times. There was people that were telling me that it's just hard to watch what's even going on in the fights, just watching, not actually doing it and keeping up with what's going on. So there's that perspective as well. So for uniqueness and everything else, I'm going to go ahead and give the mechanics a 6. Not my thing, and probably the thing that would hold me back from recommending it to many people. Alright, grinding. I didn't really grind other than the few times I had to get items and stuff like that, but I feel like the progression through the game, through the storyline and stuff like that is kind of a grind. Everything you do is killing some type of enemies to get special items, making money to get special items, to equip special things, and so on and so forth. Other versions, you only control Neku, partners become a pin that you can use, having to play both of you guys is too cool. See, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that agree with you, but I'm also sure that there's a lot of people that probably love the DS version to death, and there's probably people that were a lot better at it than I am. So yeah, I feel like I had to do a decent amount of extra stuff that seemed somewhat unnecessary. But if you really want to do a lot and then really experience this game, it's got to be a super grindy game, because it's not a long game by any means. It's a relatively short game. If I didn't die so often and I was better at it and stuff like that, you could probably beat this game in like a solid 10-12 hours. I spent a lot of time dying and failing miserably at a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and give the grinding a 6 as well. I feel like I had to do a decent amount of it. The story is kind of grindy to get through, and if you really want to experience any extra content that I didn't do, it's going to be all grinding of some form. Alright, let's take a look at what you guys rated it. And I'm going to grab a calculator because I don't feel like doing math by myself. Alright. You guys gave it a 7.75, so it's a solid 8 for you guys. And I'm going to give it a 7, I feel. I feel like that's a fair assessment. Definitely not a game for everybody. Definitely a game that I feel a lot of people probably dropped. But the story's, it's pretty unique, and it's got some unique characters and stuff like that. And the art design is definitely something to take in and experience to some extent, at least. And give the music a listen if you haven't heard it. It's some of it's really, really, really good. Some of it's a bit too much for me, but it's most definitely unique. All right, will I replay this game? Probably not. But curious to check out the Switch version. So more than likely watch a video or something like that on it. Alright, what is today? Oh, it's December. Alright, the game took us 17 hours, 17 minutes, and 44 seconds. It's your birthday. Oh, that's what you meant by birthday bits. Hey, man. Happy birthday. December 1st, huh? My birthday's in summer. I get to have the heat. Colthor also has a birthday in December. Alright. And now the moment you guys have been waiting for, that I've talked your ears off and said lots of things that don't mean a whole lot. Again, it's raffle time. All you have to do is type in the word raffle, and it enters you in a chance to win and pick the next game that I play. It's as simple as that. If Nightbot wins, I'll make a list of 5 games for you guys to vote from, and we'll go from there. Whatever game gets the most votes will be the next game. Nightbot has a better chance this time around than most other times because we have a few less people here than normal. But it's rather unlikely. And we're yet to have someone win 2 times in a row. But we have had, I think, 2 people now win. Once their game got played, and then between it, and then another one. Or maybe Doc was the first one that happened with. I thought maybe it happened with Altanin, too. Lola the Legendary Hero was pretty close. You're due for a win? Well, I think everybody's due for a win. Oh, yeah, it might have happened with Solo, too. Oh, yep, it did. Yep. Also happened with Solo. Oh, Deformed as well. Wow. Happened more than I thought it did. I don't remember this song in the game. Strange Journey to F15. Indeed. Alright, guys. I think I've made you wait enough. So, good luck, everyone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ajax, congratulations. Can't remember if you've won or not. You have. Oh, wow, you won a long time ago. You picked Xenogears. It's been a while, man. I don't think you've won since then. Rigged! If there's anything true about the raffle, it absolutely 100% is not rigged. Aw. Feels bad. Alright, man. Take a little bit of time to pick the next game. Game number 70 that will be. One day. How many have you been here for? Alright. In the meantime, I can at least get your name down. We might be able to beat 70 games by the end of the year. That's my goal. I can't remember how many we beat last year. 30-some, I guess. Let me look. December 19th. God, was Etrian Odyssey? Oh, that's right. We had the back-to-back dungeon crawlers, and they took me forever to beat. So we ended last year beating 35 games. Maybe we can beat 36 and break the record from last year. 35 RPGs is a lot of RPGs. What is followage? You got it? What song are we on? 31:17. Fantasia? Okay. That's how you spell it. Is that Wii game? The like one of the few Wii RPGs? Nope, I'm wrong. Oh no, I know this game. I've seen it. I don't own it yet. Oh. Yeah, I don't have that. Alright, I think I spelled it right. Oops. Put an R in there. Launch here, PS2. I remember seeing this game. I remember a lot of early PS2 titles because we didn't have a PS2, so I would always pick them up and look at the RPGs and always wonder what they were like. Yeah, definitely my first time played. Absolutely never played it before. In fact, I just remember looking at the case and that's it. So, it's a unique one. Well, you're jumping from Xenogears to that, so it'll be interesting to see the hop on picks. Alright, so next game is Saga Frontier 2, picked by Doc. And after that, we've got, Ephemeral Fantasia? Yeah, we've got that. I'm not sure if we'll start Saga Frontier 2 tomorrow. It really depends on how I feel and stuff like that. I didn't really get to do any Earthbound this week, so I definitely want to do some of that, but it depends on if I feel like staring at a screen the entire time or actually playing something. We'll see. I'll let you guys know in Discord and stuff like that, but we'll definitely do some Earthbound this weekend, which probably means we'll start Saga Frontier 2. First of all, I had to find where my copy of that's at, so... Alright, that leaves us with one last thing to do tonight, guys, and that is to raid a stream. I always try to raid somebody whenever I complete a game, and we always try to think of something that's unique to the game to raid people with. So can you guys think of something from this game that would be worth spamming somebody with? In the meantime, I'll try to find somebody. It goes at a slow. Alright, Boom Cannon. We'll go ahead and go with that, since it was your game pick. Alright, guys, go ahead and spam this message. We're just gonna host background guy. Or raid him, rather. I can speak. Go ahead and spam that. Let's see if we can take over his chat a little bit. It's going to be difficult since he's doing the Final Fantasy Fiesta, so he's going to have a lot of people in there. But let's take it over for a little bit, guys. Let's make a memory during Final Fantasy X, it looks like he's playing. Alright? Go ahead and spam it, everybody. I really appreciate it, guys. It's always fun to send you guys somewhere, maybe somewhere you haven't been before. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Background Guy before. If not, I highly recommend following him. Really, really laid back dude. Pretty funny as well. Plays loads of different RPGs and stuff like that. Does a lot of casual stuff like me as well, but he also does some speedrunning. Yeah, and he's got some really cool emotes as well. So if you don't already follow him, highly recommend it. At least go say hi. Wish him some luck on the Fiesta. It's a very, very big deal playing through all the Final Fantasy games. And they do it with a lot of challenges intact at the same time. So if you've never experienced that too, yeah, stop by, say hi. Alright, I'm going to send you guys over. Hopefully I get to see that chat spam. Have a good night. Have a good start to your weekend. And see you tomorrow.